Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Rants show. Now, interestingly enough, I was watching a documentary about lobsters. Yes, that's all I'm going to say about that. So, I was watching a documentary about lobsters. Lobsters are actually more intricate than I would have ever thought. Now, lobsters are crustaceans, if you didn't know, but they're also uniquely qualified to outlive us. What does that mean? Well, according to this documentary I was watching, lobsters have been around for 350 million years. That's a shit ton of years. Dinosaurs basically disappeared from the earth around 65 million years ago. So these guys have just been around significantly longer, like 6 times as long as the dinosaurs. As the dinosaurs have been gone, is what I should say, which is insane that they're still here. Now, how are they still here? Because they keep a low profile. That's the truth. They keep a low profile. Lobsters know when to shut up. You know, you have all these mammals, you have the dinosaurs, you have all these animals and species that have gone extinct. They're loud. They're noisy, they take up space, they hunt, they have to eat foliage. Lobsters can just kind of chill. They can just kind of stay in their own lane. And as a result, they can spend 100% of their time on surviving, essentially. And that's just amazing to me. You know, we worry so much about things. You know, we worry about healthcare. We worry about, rent, grocery bills, the cost of living increases, debt, student loan debt, mortgages, credit cards. Like the cost of living is just absolutely astronomical. If you are a young person and you're by yourself, not 2-income household, you are fucked. You are fucked. But if you were a lobster, things would be different. The reason lobsters live so long is because they don't have to worry about any of this shit. Think of male baldness. Now, a lot of the times baldness is hereditary, it's genetic. But baldness can also be brought upon stress. Have you ever seen a bald lobster? No, because they don't stress. They don't stress about anything. Lobsters are so laid back, so chill. The only thing that matters is that they are bigger than their neighbors. So as long as they keep their head down, they find themselves a nice ass rock and they just eat their fill, they are chilling. Now, in the modern day, in the West, I should say, Western civilization, you can't do that. Yes, you can eat your fill, but eventually, you'll run out of money. You won't be able to find a rock that is big enough for you. Does that make sense? Like these big people. I don't know if that's the term. Probably going to get canceled for saying that. These large fellers, when they die, they have to be cut out of their homes. The doorway is too small, which is a very relatable problem if we're being honest. The doorway being too small. So they cut a hole in the side of the house to wheel them to their final resting place. Yeah. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never seen a lobster like that. Lobsters know when to stop. They know when to quit. They know when to stop eating. Otherwise, you could have one lobster to feed an entire restaurant. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine like a 600-pound lobster? Now, when it comes to the actual eating of lobsters, and I know as barbaric as that sounds, I was just talking about how laid back and chill they are, they do have one major predator, and that is red lobster. Now, if I'm being honest, lobster is good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's really worth the price. Like there's some restaurants I go to where the lobster is like market price. Like when I think of market price, I think of like gold, like silver, like stocks and bonds. I don't think about like an A tier food, like a B tier food. Guys, it's butter. It's butter. The overwhelming flavor that lobster has is butter and herbs. Sorry to break it to you. If you think that lobster on its own is just this like beautiful, like melt in your mouth kind of thing, it's just not. It's fish. It's shellfish, I think. But yeah, so the price, I don't know. I think it's hype. I think it's hype. Which is fine. You know, that's fine. Lobster is just one of the many foods that is just totally overhyped to the point where it almost ruins it. Like lobster, like I said, lobster is good. It's okay. But for the price, for the experience, it's just not there. You know, there's this nice steakhouse in my city, really, really nice steakhouse. Like we're talking like maybe like $120 steak, which I guess is not nice depending on where you live. But they have like lobster mac and cheese. Guys, or I should say it's like regular mac and cheese, and then for like another like $30 you can add lobster. It's lobster mac and cheese. Like what are we doing? What are we doing? You're taking like one of like the most common available dinners and mixing it with this supposedly like delicious, beautiful animal. Like, where's the Kobe steak mac and cheese? You know, where's what's a fancy, like caviar mac and cheese? That sounds fucking gross. But you get my point. You can't have both of it. You can't have a super luxurious, super expensive meal and then pair it with mac and cheese. It doesn't work like that. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You either have to have the really expensive, overpriced lobster or the shitty mac and cheese with bits of fucking meat in it. Pick one or the other. Okay? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the mac and cheese is already like $20 there for pasta and cheese. And then you can double that price to add some flakes of lobster meat to it. And it's not even like, this is a steak place. I think that's the only lobster they have on the menu, which is really odd. Why do you have lobster on your menu if it is exclusively in this one dish? Very, very odd. Very, very weird. That's like going to a steakhouse and the only steak that they have is the steak mac and cheese or like a steak burrito. That's a tangent. But let me know your thoughts. I think that lobster is like super overrated. It's okay, but it's not worth the hype. There's so many better foods out there that are just so much better in every way than lobster. But let me know, is the hype worth it? What are your thoughts on lobster? Some of you may never even tried lobster. It's like gatekeeped. It's locked behind this inflated price tag for no reason. So let me know. I appreciate you listening to this, and I will see you tomorrow.